Well, the moment is finally upon us. At time of recording this, it's about 5 hours until the See the Bigger Picture event begins, which unfortunately for me is going to be about 2 AM. But of course, I'll be staying up, as we are all assuming that this is going to be the long-awaited release of the Mavic Pro 2, and what a wait it's been. Unlike the original Mavic, this version has had quite a few leaks, and we shouldn't be caught too off guard of what we see tonight, unless of course DJI has been the leaker all along and is setting us up for a big bamboozle, which would be pretty interesting actually. But of course, the real interesting part is that we have learned that 2 versions of the Mavic are coming out, the 1-inch Hasselblad sensor model and the zoom version. So which edition is going to be the best bang for your buck? Without knowing the prices for a few more hours, let's have a look at the stats, and in my mind I think the answer is quite clear. So here we have the comparison sheet between the 3 models. And of course it is in Chinese, but it's actually fairly simple to go through and understand most of it. There's a few things that I just have to guess about, but let me show you what I mean. So here we have the Mavic Pro in the first column, followed by the Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro. And right off the bat, we see the sensor size. Looks like the Zoom and the Pro, the original Pro that is, are going to have the same one. And this is a bit of a drawback. The Mavic's camera was pretty good. It got some good footage and photos, but that was one of the weaker points. However, we see that is improved on the Mavic 2 Pro, which has that 1-inch sensor, which apparently is a Hasselblad, which is pretty good. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. However, this is, to put this in perspective, it's about the same power you're going to get on the Phantom 4 Pro Professional, which is a big leap forward for the Mavic. So this should be a really big upgrade. Quite excited to see where this goes. Next, we have the millimeter of the lenses. So we have the 28 on the Mavic, between the 24 and 48 on the Zoom, and this isn't a wildly different zoom. They're both kind of wide angle. If you've used the camera before, you know that 24 is kind of wide. Towards 50 is kind of normal, but it's still a little bit wide. So you're not going to see like an insane zoom. It's not like you're zooming in from CSI and you're enhancing it while you're in the air. But the reason they have this is for the feature of that is in the video, which you'll see a bit later. I'll explain. It's basically for the vertigo effect, which I think they're pushing as a new feature, which is a bit fun, but you don't actually need this camera to do that. So I wouldn't say this is a big win for the zoom, but it's kind of interesting. Now, what's interesting here for the Mavic 2 Pro is that they have D-Log HDL, which I believe stands for Hybrid Log Gamma. So they're advertising it as a 10-bit color, high dynamic range camera. So this is going to be very interesting to see. What this means is that if you have a bright and a dark scene, such as a sunset or sunrise, where you have the bright sky, dark landscape, you're going to get more color and detail in both of them. So it should be good. The Mavic Pro 2 the Mavic original did have D-Log, so I wonder if they've upgraded that a bit, because that was a bit weak on the Mavic. You could do some good color correction, and it was probably the best one to use, but it was a bit tricky. Some people don't like editing. But if this is really high dynamic range, then it could be really good. And also 10-bit is pretty good as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, this looks like a big win for the Mavic 2 Pro. Next, we have the apertures. So of course, the Mavic Pro was fixed at 2.2. The Mavic Zoom is going to go between 2.8 and 3.8. So that's okay. It's more or less the same. Now, the big difference, of course, is on the f2.8 between f11. And this is a very, very big deal. And the easiest way to explain this is that this is going to let you change your depth of field, so you can have more things in focus if you use a higher f-stop. But what's really important for drones is this is going to block out more light. And with the Mavic Pro, you need to buy ND filters to block out the light and get that nice shutter effect of having, say, like if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you kind of want a 60th of a second shutter speed, so you get the nice motion zoom and everything's not too sharp. So in theory, the Mavic Pro 2 won't need ND filters. You might need to still get like a polarizing filter or something to cut out some bit of light, but this is a very nice effect. And additionally, what is really good about this is you can change it while in the air. So if you have the fixed aperture, you maybe had the ND filter, however you had to land and change the filters, and that's just time consuming, takes off your flight time, so it's very annoying. But yeah, this looks really good. Next, of course, we have the ISOs, and I usually shoot in a low ISO, so I'm not too excited about these. The Mavic, you didn't really want to use it over ISO 800, so the upper range of 1600 or 3200 was kind of pointless anyway. They might have improved it, so we're holding out hope, but this is more or less a nothing column for me. Although I will test it, of course, and see what it turns out to be. This looks like shutter duration, so 8 seconds to 1/8000th of a second. It's more or less the same on all the models, nothing really special here. Now here we have these shooting formats. So we have the Full HD, which is 1080p, 2.4K, or 2.7K rather, at 30 frames per second, and 4K at ultra high depth, 30p. So that was for the Mavic Pro. It looks like it's more or less the same for the Zoom, except that the 2.7 has the 60p, which is nice, as well as the Mavic 2 Pro. And this is a little bit disappointing for me, because I was really hoping to get 4K ultra high depth in 60p, which is of course on the Phantom 4 Pro. So I guess they want to leave something on the Pro, because at the moment the Mavic 2 Pro is looking almost better than the Phantom 4, but I guess that's the one thing they have. Although to be honest, I usually shoot in 2.7K anyway, so getting that 60p is going to be great. And 120p at Full HD is interesting. This is going to allow you to do 4 times slow motion if it's any good. Of course, I think most people that used the Mavic Pro original knew that the 1080p mode was terrible. It just looked really shit, so no one really used it. Next we have the weight, and this isn't a big deal. The Mavic was pretty light at 730 grams. I mean, no one really cares about an extra 200 grams, I guess. If this was under 250 grams, then that means it wouldn't be classified as a drone in America, which would be nice, but that is not the case. So next we have the top speed, and 65 kilometers for the Mavic Pro is pretty good. Looks like we're going to get an extra 7 kilometers per hour, which is nice, a bit stronger. And even if you're not using the max speed of your drone, this means it's going to be stronger in wind, so that's good. And, you know, more power, you know, longer flight times, probably. It's a good idea. I mean, I like it. There's nothing to complain about here. Next, it looks like the max distance. So, of course, 5,000 meters, like 5 kilometers. I think I got my Mavic out to about 4 kilometers once, so you're never really going to test the full distance, but of course, more is better. And looks like we're adding an extra kilometer on both models, which is nice. Nice. Next, we have the flight duration, so 27 minutes in the Mavic. And this prediction is pretty good. I think I've got about 25 out of mine. And of course, you always want more, just because that's going to give you more time in the air, more time to land if something goes wrong. So it looks like we're getting an extra 4 minutes there. So that's interesting, because it's heavier, about 200 grams heavier, but the distance is longer and the flight time's longer. So it must have upgraded the engines, which should be good. Next up, we have the OcuSync, which is the image translation rate. That was pretty good in the Mavic. If it has OcuSync, I believe it is compatible with the goggles, which is nice because I have the goggles and I want to keep using them. So they have a new one, OcuSync 2.0, and they are claiming that at 8 kilometers you can have 1080p. So if that's true, then that's great, because there was a few instances where I was flying pretty far away and my image was degrading a bit. This is just going to help you fly when you're further out. Of course, in most countries it's illegal to fly that far, but I think most of us do anyway. So yeah, this should be good. This should be good. This 2.4G, I think that's the signal, I think. So it's like 2.5 gigahertz for like Wi-Fi. I mean, so this just means that more bands are available. So it has better use in some countries that have more interference. So hopefully we're going to get less interference on the drones. I'm not exactly sure what this column is, or this column, but that is basically the end of it. Right, so looking at these stats, I think that the winner is clear. And I have to recommend the Mavic 2 Pro over the Zoom every time. Now, the only caveat to this is if there's some feature they have not announced. I think there's always like a couple new flight modes and stuff, but they're usually more just for fun. Don't use them that much. The big difference is, of course, going to be the price. And if we look at the difference between the Mavic Pro original and the Phantom 4, which I think is what we have to start classifying basically the Mavic 2 as, it's basically a Phantom 4 that folds. There's almost $1,000 difference for me, so that could be a significant thing, of course. If one of them is about $500 difference, then sure, people are going to pick up the Zoom just because it's cheaper, even though if they miss out on some of the better features. For me, I think it's going to be the Mavic 2 Pro 1-inch sensor mode or nothing. I will wait and see, and of course update this if something changes. I'm hoping it's going to be cheaper than the Phantom 4, obviously. I've been thinking about getting a Phantom 4, but I was hoping for the Mavic 2 to come out and be a bit, more compact, easy to travel with, and, they usually get some interesting goodies like the travel bag and stuff in the Fly More package anyway. So, right, guys, so I think that basically... Oh, no, wait, actually. We have to look at the vertigo effect. So let's have a look at the trailer for the See the Bigger Image, which is their teaser. So you can see in this video that they are really pushing dynamic range in the bright settings, like we see in the things running across the Safari. It's very dynamic. That's what they're probably pushing with that HDR mode. And also a lot of time lapse. And here we have the vertigo effect. Now, this is the effect that was famously from the movie Vertigo. It's also called the Alfred Hitchcock effect, and you see it in movies like Jaws and some others. And, you know, it's very fun and neat for some people to see. However, you can do it with any drone. You don't need the Mavic Pro Zoom to do it. And I can make a tutorial video to show you how to do this if you're interested in the future. Alright, that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be staying up till 2 AM to see if I'm right about this, and I hope you are too, although maybe it's a bit better in your country. If you like this video, please leave a like, leave any questions or which version of the Mavic you're going to get in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, peace out.